Hi everyone, and welcome back to this third video in this new set of videos focused on how to approach your class in some ways to maybe make it more interactive. We'll look at a variety of different apps or forms of technology or websites that you can download. Typically these will be always for free, at least the basic versions, which generally will get you by. So this week we'll talk about annotation apps. So annotation apps, to think about it very succinctly, would be apps that allow you to collaborate with your students on text or documents in real time or either in asynchronous senses. So we'll look at a series of these today. Some of these you probably use already. You might know that there are a lot of ways in Microsoft and Google Docs to track changes and to collaborate in real time or asynchronously online, marking up text, adding comments, showing all the while who's doing the additional annotation or write-up on those texts. We'll look at some others out there too that are, because they're designed a little more specifically for collaborative annotation, you might find them to be a little more useful even than what Microsoft provides in their document features in Word or in Google Docs. So these include everything from Hypothes to Markup, Bounce App, Liquid Text, Scribble, and a few others. So we'll start now. As usual, I'll take you through these apps. I will give you a list of all the websites where you can download or use these. And if questions come up, always reach out. And if there's a lot of interest in something like this, we can schedule a special workshop, in this case, just to discuss annotation apps. So let's get started now. Okay, so let's get started looking at some annotation tools that you can use in your classes. I will go through some options here that you could use inside of Canvas, outside of Canvas with external apps, and even something like using Google Documents. So the first example here would be an option you have inside of Canvas. And again, what we're trying to accomplish here is a situation where students can work collaboratively on shared documents. These shared documents could be pages in Canvas, they could be a Google document, it could be a PDF file that is a reading that you want to annotate together. It could be an image or even websites. The principle behind annotation is that all students and the instructor in the class would be working together collaboratively to create a shared document that shares comments, that shares and collaborates on ideas, highlighting text, adding things to the text, and so forth. So we're talking about annotation in general today, and then how you can do this with some of these apps and forms of technology. So the first example would be to do it directly in Canvas using the Pages feature. In order to do this, you likely have to disable, or rather enable, options for your students. And you can decide whether you want to do this, because it could potentially open up some concerns if you don't want students to have control over content creation. In order to do this, you would go to Course Details, scroll to the bottom for More Options, and click on that. And then this is where you'll see these options pop up. Specifically, you would look at option here that says only teachers can create, rename, and edit course pages by default. So I could put in anyone or teachers and students. I would click this here, and then it's asking me change pages currently editable by only teachers to teachers and students. So confirming you're doing that, hit update course details. And anytime you want to change that, you could certainly go in and alter that back if you don't want that to be the default. So then what I could do is click on Student View, and in order to do this, I just have to go back in and change my pages so that it is visible. Keep in mind, when you go to Student View, you will not see disabled items. And so I want to get this back up here. I'm going to save that. So if you're trying to try this out on your own, you can do the same thing that I'm doing. And then let's go back to Student View. And now you'll see the pages displayed as a tab. Click on View All Pages. And then because I'm in the Student View and I have set this as an option, I can now create a page. And I would do that and could hit Save That, and it would be available. So if I wanted to do that, then this would give the option for students to create their own pages. You can think about whether you want to do that. You could have the pages created under the Pages tab, and then you could go in and adjust this by modules. Keep in mind, another way to create collaboration is through the assignments. So if I wanted to, I could go into assignments, create a new assignment, and I would just want to make sure that I create that as a group assignment down here. And I can control the name of groups and categories and so forth. Let me show you what that looks like if I go back to Student View with the sample assignment. It's this one here. And as a student, they would click on Submit Assignment, and then all these options would come up for text entry, website entry, Media, Studio, Office 365. So this is another way that you could create collaboration at the group level that could involve annotation. So if some students type their comments and hit Submit, other students could add to that and so forth. It's not really real time, and any of these I'm showing you in Canvas isn't necessarily real time. So if you want to do real time annotation and collaboration, maybe you might want to look at another tool. Let me offer these next two options, and if you're interested in these would have to be added on by me or Treva via the Canvas administrators page, but if you're interested, let me know. We'll put it on the radar and we could talk about adding these. Just don't want to add additional tools or apps to clutter up Canvas if we're not using them. So the first of these is called Perusall. I'm just jumping here to YouTube to show you what this looks like. So Perusall is a real-time collaboration option that can be added to Canvas. In this particular example, they're showing Moodle. This gives you a good sense right now of what we're talking about today with annotation tools. So the class is looking at a document. It could be a PDF document. And then inside of Canvas, they're annotating that. They're highlighting certain things. They're adding emojis. They're doing things with the text and so forth. So you can see that this is an example of using annotation as a way to collaborate collectively, including comments on the side that you can scroll and take a look at. So it really does give you the sense of something like track changes in Microsoft Word and Google Docs and so forth. And by the way, we'll talk about those options with shared Google Docs or Microsoft Office later. If you're interested in Perusall, it would take some work for us to get this set up, so please check back, and if we get enough of people interested, perhaps we can add it to Canvas. It would be free to use at the basic level. Okay, so a second option for us is to use what's called a hypothesis. As you can see here, it's a pedagogical tool that enables students and teachers to have conversations in the margins of digital text. Using social annotation gives you new ways to foster student success, building community, critical thinking, deeper understandings of readings. So a lot of what we're talking about today really works with text. It could also work with images. So this would be another one we would have to add to Canvas. If you're interested, please reach out and we could consider that. This shows you right here what it looks like in real time. So you would have a text like this, and then you would have tagging, notes, and so forth. You could search by those tags. You see kind of what it looks like here in an LMS system. And so again, if you're interested in this kind of tool, it could be really useful for us. It would be easy for us to include the free version within Canvas. It's very similar to Perusall, so maybe if there's interest in either of these tools as an integrated tool in our Canvas LMS, reach out and we can work on trying to get those added for us in Canvas. The next one we'll look at today, you could use right now. It's called Markup, and I will certainly include all of the URLs for you to check this out. It allows you to collect feedback on a live website or any image. So unlike the previous ones we've been looking at, this one actually works at the website level and at the image level, so not really going to be ideal for documents, text, PDFs, and those sorts of things. So this kind of just shows you what is happening at the level of the app and the interface. We can see how this works. It'll ask you to either upload an image here, and we can look at that. Just upload a random image here. It doesn't matter what it is. And then I'm going to hit Create Markup, and it will make a very specific tile for this. I kind of like the tile format. So once you've created or uploaded an image in Markup, you could click on that image, just click on Open Markup. And then this is a typical window you'll see whether you're doing a website markup or whether you're doing an image one. If I already have an annotation, it'll appear there, and I can click on that and get the information about it. This is not the best image to use maybe to demo this, but I could click anywhere on the image and then type in My comment, I can adjust it with bolded text and so forth. I can add the hyperlink as we looked at before, and we can attach files. Once I post that, these will all then be viewable on the screen. I can at any point click on the number indicated and the annotation will come up. You can also click resolve. This is sort of like accept changes in track changes if you've used it in Google Docs or Microsoft Word. So once you click resolve, those are resolved. They then disappear from your browser. If you click back on it, they will appear again, and you can at any time click those. So this way, if you were doing an annotation that was a write-up and you were saying, please analyze something or comment on something, you could then click on those as resolved as the instructor, and then that way you could count those as graded or completed or whatever. So it's kind of nice how they have this in a very simple format. If we go back to our main page, we can get all the images or websites that we have. So to do the website, you simply add it as a URL when you set it up. Very easy to do. And then this loads up, and this is where you would use that browse feature, because in this case, if I want to scroll, I think it'll let me scroll in both, but if I just want to read it and not look at the annotations, I could just click browse, scroll around. I don't have any options to click on anything. Then to comment, I click on the comment. You see I already have one there, so it appears. I can add another one here, maybe if I had a comment on my COVID-19. So I could give my comment whatever I want to offer. Again, at any time I can adjust my text. Very simple text editing features, but probably enough for what you need. If you want to include an image, I could click attach files. I'll just choose that same image there that I had before. I'll click OK, and then it's going to appear with my attachment. Again, at any time when I want to, I first have to hit post, of course. And at any time I want to click on these, I would just choose the number. This panel will open up. I could read the comment, and I can add a reply here. And so that's kind of nice too. You can actually use the browser on the side to just look at the text and the annotations, or you could choose on the screen. If I want to click on 2, just that one will appear. And as we saw before, this also has an image that is associated with it. So what I think is nice about Markup is the fact that you can choose it for websites, or you could choose it for images themselves. If you wanted to, you could probably use this with a site that had actual text. So I'm trying to think of an example of this. So what I could do is comment here. And let's see what that looks like. Hit post. Okay, that's working. All right, so that's what I was thinking more of. So if you found a text online like this that was actually embedded inside a website, it could be really handy for you to do some of this annotation. Again, students could use this for their assignments, and then you could click on the annotations, grade them, and so forth. So I think that highlights how to use Markup. What I like about Markup is it allows you to do an image or a website, and it's super easy to use. Once you have your site created, then you can simply click on it and work on it with other students. So for a lot of these, keep in mind that when you first start up, you may have to actually sign up for an account. So just make sure that you look into this before you commit to any of this. Make sure that, say, if it involves all of your students signing up for an account, you're okay with that. But one way around that is to turn it into assignment. And you could say you have to sign up for a Markup free account, and that's worth 10 points. And then once they do that, you could get into your annotation or collaboration activity with the class. Now, another one I'll mention today is called Liquid Text, and this is app-based. It looks like you could also get it on Windows 10, and I believe with the App Store you can download apps onto the computer and also onto a tablet or an iPhone. I'm just going to show you what this looks like, and if you wanted to work on it, you could think about collaboration, or this could also be useful for students doing annotations on their own, working on their homework assignments. You see the basic interface of this. I've used Liquid Text in the past. It's pretty cool. It allows you to do a lot of this stuff on your own, and working through this just like you would work through a physical book with highlighting and sticky notes and all that kind of stuff we used to do in the old days. I think it could be very helpful for your students because it gets them into the physicality of actually marking up and working with text. So if you're interested in liquid text, this would be another one I could recommend, and I would really say this is geared towards the individual user, but you can also look into possibilities for doing more collaborative things as well. Okay, the next one we'll look at is what's called a Scrible. Again, I'll give you all of the addresses for this. This is free for you to sign up. It's similar to some of the previous ones we've looked at. What you could do is upload a text. I've already uploaded a text here, and then you could work with that text. So you can highlight certain things. It's actually kind of nice how it seems to understand where the breaks are. Even though this is saved as an image file, it understands where the actual text is and it only highlights that. So that's actually pretty sophisticated that it's able to figure that out. You can see how the tools at the top, you can choose colors. It looks like you can do folders. This is much more full-fledged than, say, Markup. So this might be something if you're interested in working collaboratively on a text with your students and really developing something new. In terms of a collaboration tool and also in terms of doing annotations. So what I would recommend for any of the tools I'm going through today is to really look at these and see if they're going to work for you in terms of what you're doing in your class. If you're not really interested in anything like annotations, these tools may not necessarily work for you, but if you are interested, then definitely I would recommend that you look at a few of these. Now the next one we can look at is actually inside of Google Chrome. This is called Annotate Pro, and you're going to just Google that. You'll find it on the Chrome Web Store, and you're going to add it to your Chrome browser. You have to allow that and add extension. And all you're going to have to do is click on the A in the browser to get started. And it's saying here if you have other extensions already installed, you might have to dig into the overall list. Click on the jigsaw puzzle icon. That's good to know. I don't necessarily use a lot of extensions, but I do want to look at it. And so it is not appearing. And that's because I have Google Drive and some other apps up here. So click on that icon, and then I would just simply click on the A for Annotate Pro. And then I'll want to log on with my Google account. I would choose whatever account that is. And then I'm logged in, and then it says here I would want to click again on that A in the browser. So that was essentially just logging me in. Let me go back to that, click on it. This has some information about Annotate Pro. So at this point I have a lot of options. I'm not going to go through all these. I'm trying to keep these videos somewhat short, but you can basically use it with anything on your browser. You could see here it works with all of these various tools here. You could even, it looks like, use it in our Canvas LMS, Google Classroom, Google Docs, Gmail, and so forth, Slack, any website. And then this has an overview of what it is. It talks a little bit about how it works. And then also I could create my own content, and if you look at that, it talks very extensively about how this works. Has its own editor, you can create libraries and so forth. I'm not going to go through this all today, but if you're interested in this, it would be great to look up the Annotate tool that you can use. It's just Annotate Pro inside of your Google Chrome browser with websites inside of Canvas and so forth. So definitely check this one out if you're interested in it. And one last area to mention, of course, is you could always go into Microsoft Word and set up a shared document that allows for track changes and any kind of markup that you might want. Probably pretty familiar with track changes. We use it a lot in our professional lives. And Google Docs has similar features that allow you to do editing and revision histories and so forth. So those are options for you as well. So hopefully in this video today you got a sense of what annotation tools are and how you might use them either inside of Canvas or externally. Again, if you have any interest in those Canvas integrations that we talked about earlier in terms of Hypothes and Perusall, let me know and we could do some work to get those integrated as an active app inside the Canvas LMS. Otherwise, if you'd like to use any of these external apps, incorporate them in your class in any way, have at it. Take a look at some of the websites that I mentioned. If there's a lot of interest in doing more annotation collaboratively in your classes, we can certainly set up a teaching workshop to have more conversation about this possibility in any of your online classes. Okay, so that's it today, focusing here on how to use annotation apps or websites in your class, particularly if you're interested in students collaborating in real time or asynchronously on documents, projects, or other texts that requires some level of writing up, annotating, and commenting on the text that's being shared among the class. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more videos in this series shortly.